Welcome back to another episode of Chrysalis Collective, the podcast. I'm Alexis Ramirez.
I'm Savannah Taylor.
And today we're going to talk about Sapphic Sex, which is, of course, a fun topic.
Yeah.
Sex, make it sapphic. I mean,
what more can you want?
Exactly.
What more can you want? Let's talk about it.
Sapphic sex is very specific.
Yeah, it is. It is specific to a specific identity and embodiment, and two women or multiple women in the same intimate space.
Yeah. Womb holders, people that carry that energy and that identify in that way, feel comfortable in their sexuality being expressed in that specific way. And Sappho's was a poet, and that's where they were a lesbian poet.
Right.
So that's where this idea of sapphic love, romantic, womanly, lesbian love, and we have now gotten to the space where it's like sapphic is just sapphic. Like it's so much more than what originally probably the writer even intended for it to be, but now that legacy has like evolved as all, beautiful things do throughout history, and now we get to have sapphic sex.
I feel like sapphic love is so transcendent beyond sex too, that like just being in relationship with a queer woman, like, because queerness is so expansive and it is just like a whole self type of identity, that like you and I have a relationship and a connection. Like, we're not having sex, but it's like, still very
intimate, and we get to create together, and there's a safety and like a level of comfort that does not, I feel like, necessarily exist within some of my other feminine relationships or dynamics. I feel like I even at times feel kind of protective because I don't want to ever impede or have anybody impede on my energy or get any kind of confusion. But it's like when there's this freely loving and liberated idea of self in between two people, it's just that much more room to really love each other fully beyond any kind of physical, intimate
But let's
things.
talk about the physical intimate things, because that is what everybody wants to know. And I think in preparation for this episode, we did a little bit of research and asked
deep diving into the Reddit threads,
into the Reddit-verse, and into like what questions do people have for queer people with vaginas, and people who are having lesbian sex, or like what do people want to know as they begin their journey having sapphic sex?
Yeah, because I know at the beginning of me having sex with other women, I felt kind of like I was going through an adolescence all over again, like finding out what I actually did like and what other people liked, and not allowing any kind of preconceived notion of what sex is supposed to look like. Like, you get a whole new blank slate to experiment with your body and experiment with other people's bodies that don't have the same parts as what the people
that... It's not the sex talk that you're given.
Exactly.
And like, we're told, culturally or like scientifically even, that like sex is penis and vagina penetration, but that is such a limiting understanding of what sex is. And like, to isolate sex to one penetrative act, I mean, it takes away the identity of so many other people, and it puts so much pressure on what sex is and can be. And like when you're expressing yourself through sapphic sex, like, it immediately takes you, I think, to a very different place, because like, you're with someone that has the same intimate knowing of their own body that you do, and that you have this shared experience and this shared awareness of a womb and of a cycle, and like, you just go straight to that place.
And I feel like sapphic sex is so much more about exploration than what any other kind of sex really is.
Oh, yeah.
Just because you're getting to explore and really lean into the curiosity that you hold, like being able to touch lightly or be a little firm, like what variation exists even with, you know, kissing or having your mouth on somebody else's genitals, like having your mouth on someone else's vulva, like, you know what, how it feels good to you, right? Like, and I think that a lot of people are like, okay, well, just do that, but how another person may enjoy it may not be the same way that you enjoy it. And so giving that space as well, like, yeah, a lot of people are curious about, okay, how do you even go down on a person with a vagina?
Like, this is just helpful information for anybody that wants, anybody that's with somebody that has a vagina. We need to talk. Yeah, we need to talk about cunnilingus and how to do it well. And I think that the important part of oral sex with a vulva is to not begin at level 10.
Yeah.
Because the way that the vulva gets
aroused,
like it's very similar to a penis in that, like, you get, it doesn't just like happen all at once. Like it's a gradual process, and the vulva gets like, it gets larger, it gets swollen, it gets more red, it gets lubricated. It literally, like, the labia begins to open.
It's like a flower.
It's a flower.
Like, it's literally blooming.
It blooms. And so you want to begin slowly. And so, like, don't start by sticking your tongue inside someone's vagina.
That's 0 to 100.
No, absolutely not. That's gonna feel really like no. Yeah. Do not do that.
Too much, too fast.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good, because when the vagina isn't lubricated and when the vulva isn't aroused, it feels uncomfortable. It can feel painful. It's the opposite of pleasure. And so begin with kisses, begin with like kissing the hips, rub the womb, rub like your tongue on the outside of the outer labia, and like spread the labia with your tongue, with your lips.
And I feel like even before that, just like start with the mouth first, right? Like that mouth to throat connection, listen to also how into it they are. Are they giving you those subtle little moans, or are they still kind of quiet and not as expressive? And let that also be your guide. Like that throat to yoni connection is very real. So real. How expressive are they being? And then kissing down to meet that space is something that it's like you can check in on the way to see how ready somebody is. If they're more receptive, or if they're like, oh, maybe it just feels really good where you're kissing right now and they want you to stay there a little longer. That's also going to affect how aroused they are in general. Like there's so many little stops along the way to make so that it's not just straight to oral sex, although it is great. Well, like I'm also very excited to get to that space, so I understand. Like
you're also like activating the different meridian points like along in the body to be able to activate that pleasure part in the erogenous zone inside the vulva. So like, yeah, it is really important to begin slowly and softly.
And also while you're there, like when you do get to that space, like you said, light kissing, and like really, I feel like the most effective thing that I found is to really make out with their vulva.
Kiss the vulva, use different pressure on different parts, and kiss it like it's a face, and like it is somebody's lips.
And don't be afraid to put your entire face in it. Like it's not just your tongue, it's your lips, it's your nose, it's your cheeks, like it's your chin.
Enjoy the smell of it too. Like I feel like it's really important to like fully immerse yourself in somebody else's pheromones and their energy, and then like really tune into like how someone's body is receiving it, because like if they get excited by something, you should keep doing what was making somebody excited, you know. But if they're just like kind of monotoned or like not really like leaning into it, like check in, be like, hey, how does that feel? Like, are you know, where are you? Like it should just be a conversation and an open dialogue. Like don't it's not a performance.
Don't be afraid to ask for direction. And I think setting that space for safety and curiosity beforehand is also like, it can be sexy. It can be in a way that's like, tell me what you do want. Tell me what you do like. If something feels good, like, or, give somebody a set of rules. The only two things you could tell me right now is firmer or softer, and like play by those rules for a little while. And if they want to make up some other rules, then play by those rules for a little while. Like, there are so many ways to have healthy and consenting communication in that space, and it doesn't have to be just what we've been accustomed to see, especially like in porn. I feel like lesbian porn is just so like crazy moans and so like
I don't watch porn because of that very reason, that it is so unrealistic.
It's performative,
and it doesn't feel like there's so many things we could talk about porn.
Yeah, but sex it's not porn.
It's a conversation. It's a experiment between two people. There doesn't have to be a finish line. Like the entire thing,
it doesn't have to lead to orgasm. It can just feel good because it feels good.
And you're just being with someone else's body in that moment, and being with your own body and seeing what you like. But I think going back to like oral sex and how to perform oral sex, like for me the clitoris is really important, and like making sure that like the clitoral hood is like retracted to be able to like apply firmer pressure to the clit, because like everybody's clitoris is a little bit different. And so for some people, like just because your clit might be like more towards the left, somebody else's might be on the right, some of like it might have like a different relationship to the urethra even. That's something I learned, that like not everybody's clitoris and urethra are in the same exact spot. And so like really taking your time to like pull back and retract that clitoral hood, and like look with your eyes, feel with your hands, use your tongue, really find like where is the clitoris, and like how do they respond? Like when do I use the tip of my tongue? Should I use the middle of my tongue and like make wave motions?
Yeah, circles
are fun.
Yeah, back and forth, sucking
is
and even like sucking and giving stimulation at the same time while it's in your mouth. Like, how much exactly do you want to use fingers?
I was gonna say, when you're sucking on the clitoris, like that's a really good time to incorporate fingering.
Yeah, and if the area is very well lubricated, then somebody is more than likely ready. So that's always a good indication. But I'm also just thinking about how you said that, like, everyone's clitoris is shaped differently. And I know that for myself, it feels like I have coordinates. Like, literally, from my view to, like, the left, on, like, the other side of my clitoris, it's, like, that's where all of my, like, more sensitive nerves are. And anytime I come, it's because that's being incorporated into whatever the motion that's being done to like get me to that space. Like it's just so specific to each person, because other people, no, they're not going to have exact coordinates, and maybe they can come in various different ways, but our bodies are all different, so it's going to look super different for all of us. And I feel like mutual masturbation, like,
that helps so much.
Because you get to see how another person is pleasuring themselves. Like, sex doesn't have to be I'm doing to you and you're doing to me and we're taking turns, or even at the same time. It can be, let's lay side by side and let's explore ourselves and, get to see how we're pleasuring ourselves individually, and then take notes, like, get to learn from the expert themselves. Like, what better way to get to know somebody else's body than to see them interacting with their own body?
Yeah, and I think that it's a really, like, important tool to have that in any relationship. Like, no matter how long you've been together, to be like, watch me touch myself. It's
pretty hot.
It's super hot. To be watched and to watch your partner, and like, even if even if you aren't touching yourself, like just being like, I want to watch you make yourself come,
and either I want to hold you or I want to add extra stimulation or do other things while you're doing what you feel like needs to be done, or I just taking a strictly voyeuristic like I just want to see what you're doing, like it can look so many different ways.
And I mean, that goes back to just talking about like sex isn't just one act. Like sex is the way that you show up in that space with your partner and with the people that you're with. And so like, even if that is all that your sex life looks like that is a beautiful way to hold space for yourself and hold space for your partner, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I think that like a lot of people, as they're exploring their sexuality, like want to know like, okay, I'm doing this thing, is somebody else doing this? Is anybody else out there like weird like me?
Is this normal?
It's normal. It's probably normal.
And another thing we need to normalize is period sex.
Oh yeah,
because being in a relationship with somebody else that has a womb, period sex is gonna happen, and it's so much more fun, I feel like, when there's like a little bit or like a layer of like, this is something that like, not that we shouldn't be doing, but it's like,
it's still taboo. There's some taboo. I mean, there's cultural and like religious taboos around it too. Like a lot of religions don't even really allow, like, if you're talking about heterosexual relationships, like you're not supposed to be around your partner even if they're on their period. Like that's still a common tradition. And so, and we're also told that like period blood is gross or dirty or something, but like it's not.
Yeah, I'm like, I literally collect my period blood, and I'm really trying.
Tell you to.
And I like try to collect my partners, but she's like, well, come catch it then, and I'm like, but
I will.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty fun. I don't know, catching it anyway.
You're like, actually, yes, let me receive. Thank you for this abundant, just iron-rich, stem cells rich.
Put it on your face.
Yeah, literally.
Oh my god, but yeah.
It does make a great face mask.
It does.
That's the topic for a different day.
Anyway, period sex is amazing because you are, in from a Sapphic perspective, like you are two people who are starting a new chapter in your body in that moment, and like you're getting to relish in that newness and relish in what your body is doing in the part of your, like, in your cyclical just power. It's incredible.
Yeah, that new moon energy of new beginnings definitely correlates with your period.
How do you like keep, because I mean period sex does come with its own set of like challenges, you know.
Put a towel down.
Yeah, put a towel down.
Like, put a towel down. We're adults. We can do the laundry. Change the sheets. My favorite thing to do, honestly, is to like skin to skin while I'm on my period, because it just like, I don't like being constrained with clothes anyways while I'm asleep. Like, I'm very much a naked sleeper.
I free bleed in my sleep, and
me too.
Will sleep on towels.
Yeah, same. And I feel like it's just, it's natural, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's the way that I feel the most free and the most comfortable, so I'm gonna keep doing it regardless if I'm on my period or not.
Yeah. And you know, your partner like might be less comfortable with period sex, and like some people will keep a tampon in and like
still have sex
with a tampon in. Some people don't.
I don't prefer that, only because I feel like it just stays too dry.
Oh yeah, no, tampons are very drying. They definitely prevent lubrication. And for me, it was never something that I was like needed. It would always be for like the other person's comfort, you know. And so that is just like, everybody is going to be different in terms of like how they want to be
and feel more comfortable
having period sex.
Super valid.
Yeah. let's see, other things. Talked about like how to get, like, what toys to use for Sapphic Sex.
Toys in the bedroom. There's so many. I feel like a lot of them can get pretty gimmicky, like the double-sided dildos. And like, I get it. If that feels good to you and you've tried it, then like totally understand. It's anatomy. Yeah, like everyone's anatomy is just so different that what feels good for one person isn't going to feel good for the next. But there's...
Have you ever tried one of those little rose sucker, clit sucker things? I've never tried one because I'm like, I don't want a machine. Like, it just seems a little intimidating, like scary to me.
I've only really had experience with like vibrators, and that's like, I feel like the vanilla of the toys that are available, but it can be a bit overwhelming sometimes still too. Like, I have one that you can use for penetration and it vibrates at the same time, and it's just too much for me. I feel like I have just been such a like fingers and hand and just like manual masturbation that things like that can get a little too intense for me personally.
Intense.
And like thinking about strap-ons and dildos and stuff like that, if you're a fan of penetration and that's like your shit, then you can get any kind you want. Like you can get any kind of...
There's a million phallic toys out there, and I'm definitely, like, I find penetration really enjoyable, and so, like, that's something that I'm always, like, incorporating into my pleasure practices, and so I feel like the important thing is to try to find, like, as non-toxic of a material as you can, and, like, don't wash it in the dishwasher. It's gonna melt, you know, and like be careful how you take care of your toys. But really, when it comes to that, it's like go back to like being a child in how you like approach these things with like a sense of curiosity, you know, like what would feel good to you, and ask yourself, like, when you are manually masturbating or when you are having sex like without toys, like, oh, do I like, you know, vigorous rubbing? Do I like deep penetration? Do I want something in my butt? Do I want like I don't know, you know, like,
what other sensations?
What are the sensations? Do I like pain? Do I want to be blindfolded? Like,
I want some senses to not be a part of the experience?
Do I want like I like it if my hands are tied behind my back? Like, just ask yourself, like, what feels good, and then there is a whole capitalist market for it out there for you. They also will take your money for sure.
Yeah, with every new partner, get rid of old toys. I feel like
a good rule of thumb is to switch them out.
Just get new things. Those aren't things you gotta keep around.
You can get new stuff, and I don't feel like toys. I think when you're like maybe younger, you kind of idealize toys, or you think of them as like this kind of kinky thing, and you like, oh, it's something.
It's literally called a toy. It's a shiny new experience, right? But
I don't care about that. Like, I just don't. That's like how I feel at the end of the day. It's like, I mean, I like to be penetrated regardless, and so like that's something that I like, but it's not like you can do that with any part of your body. You can do that with your fingers. You don't need
it. Penetration, to me, I enjoy it a lot more with hands. Like, I feel like the angle and the depth and just like,
because you can hit the G-spot, and you can hit like the cervix. I mean, not everybody likes to have their cervix hit during sex, which is another topic of conversation, because if your cervix hurts during sex, there's usually a reason for it. But like, toys don't give you the same ability to be like malleable, you know, and to like, oh, Because
there are limitations,
and one of the beautiful things about like being inside of someone's vagina with like your fingers would be to like, oh, I can press on these different parts, you know, and I can feel what this is doing inside somebody's body, and like really taking the time,
and even doing the difference between these two fingers, your middle finger and your index finger, versus using your ring finger and your middle finger, or having all three fingers. Like, there's such, I'm like, hands are very useful. They're very versatile in the way that you're able to angle or position, and also the way that your partner is positioned affects your reach and where you're able to feel into. And it's, I'm like, hands for the win.
Those are the best toys. Yeah. Ultimately, I think.
Scissoring is another way that I feel like gets a lot of good blood flow and stimulation to the area. You're covering a large, you know, space all at once, and talking about scissoring and the kind of counterpart to that, which is tribbing, which is the same idea of using a large space, or a larger space than just like, you know, direct stimulation, having or using like a thigh or some ass or a titty, like something that is going to give you more surface area to rub your vulva on, like also gets good stimulation going. And I was telling you earlier, that's how I know I'm like really
you just start humping whatever
I'm just
is
like
available.
Any bare flesh, like give it to me.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, I think scissoring is really beautiful because it allows kind of like a face-to-face
I like that.
embrace, you know, and it's probably like one of the more challenging parts of Sapphic Sex, but probably like it's a really nice place to like do the holding, and you know, you're not, I don't know, like you might not get to climax that way. Like you might, it can be,
everyone's anatomy,
everybody is different, and it's like, it can feel incredible, but like if it's not that for you, that's okay. It can still be like a really beautiful part of the experience. And so I would say just like try different positions, you know, based off of like, just be curious, be creative, and figure out what you like, what feels good, and like don't let preconceived notions about what sex should be like to change what sex is in the moment, you know?
Yeah.
And just give yourself the freedom to try anything new, because you might find something that like is really mind-blowing and that you both really enjoy.
Yeah, and another, I feel like, form of tribbing is also sitting on someone's face. Like, that is a very large surface area.
It's a very intimate place to think, like, that's a very intimate act as well, because like you're putting somebody's nose and mouth like right in your perineum, and that is a really vulnerable energetic center of the body. Like, that is where the root chakra is located, really, and like that is a very, like, not everybody has the same type of comfortability or like same comfort level with their butt, you know? Yeah. And so like to sit on, like, not everybody wants their butt in somebody's face. But when you do allow yourself like that level of trust, and you allow yourself that level of release, and you're just like, I'm gonna just be fully me in this moment, like trust that this person wants me to be me, like that is a really beautiful like surrender.
Yeah, well, and it's a very powerful place to be, because
you're literally ride somebody's face.
Exactly. And like you're in control there. Like, they are also surrendering to you, and they have to have a lot of trust in you to know that you're comfortable and trust your own body to meet your needs there, like to meet your needs sitting on top of someone's face and distributing your weight in a way that's like not going to, you know, hurt. And if it does hurt,
there'd be a little bit of that.
Like pain is a part of sex, if you want it to be.
Pain can be is this a safe space?
Yeah.
I have a huge pain kink, and so I find pain, and that like relates to just my general like life. Like I really enjoy the hard parts of things, like finding like the most like the more it hurts, the more I love it. And so like in sex, it's a really like, and I think I just have a really high need for stimulation. And so like bringing pain into that space like brings up a lot of stimulation for me. And so I have no idea where I was going with that. I think I just wanted you to start talking about pain.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to like smacking or like pulling hair or, you know, grabbing, like that kind of pain I'm into. But when it comes to like other types of pains in sex, I feel like it makes me feel a little unsafe. Yeah. And so there's a variety in like what pain can feel good for someone and what pain can feel good for another person. Like that's why communication is just so important,
and everybody is different, and that's like what we talk about too, and like going back to our episode on sex magic, about like sex is an energy exchange, and it's also a way to process, and it's a way to release energy, and it's a way to heal and to deal with whatever is underneath the surface. And so like somebody's tendency to like somebody who feels unsafe with pain, like that's coming from a very real place. But like for me, getting to take a powerful way, like a position in this pain, and to like push myself in it and see how much I can really, really handle. Like I love that. I don't feel unsafe. I feel super like extra seen and extra safe when I know like my partner, and this is in my like, this is not a sapphic relationship, but like if my partner is going to hold me in that and like stop when I need to stop and like do what I need to do and give me what I'm asking for, like that gives me so much control and so much efficacy and so much safety. And so like everybody is just so different and unique, and sex can be so deep in that way, which is why it's like it's so powerful.
Yeah, and the power dynamics is also something that I feel like people really like to put people in boxes of like whether you're a top or you're a bottom or you're a switch or
you're a dom,
you know, you're a dom or a sub.
You gotta get a label in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, like okay, I've tried like some of those different like there's like different groups, you know, that are out there for like whatever people are into and stuff, and I'm like, I'm a pretty open person, but like I cannot even keep up with like all of these fucking labels. I have no idea what half of them mean.
Yeah,
I have to like Urban Dictionary them sometimes.
Yeah, there's always a new, I feel like, idea or school of thought or like way that people feel comfortable being seen or being categorized. And like if that's, you know, what you feel comfortable with, calling yourself a top or calling yourself a bottom, then like you know what role you like to take, and there's power in that. Of course,
think about like that video of somebody asking Rihanna if she was a top or a bottom. Did you watch that?
No.
Oh, it's so cute. You have to go find it. And she says she's a bottom, and she's like, it's just,
I'm a bottom.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I loved that video.
That's so funny. I'm just thinking of pillow princesses now.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah. Just want to lay there and do it. Sometimes you have to lay down and just go for go for a ride.
Sometimes being a pillow princess is what the experience is going to be, but there are definitely times where it's not the case. So, you know, there's variability. That's why like saying your switch or your top or your bottom is just so, it's like maybe if we started to have more of a conversation about like what energy you're feeling or what energy you're more comfortable with, that stuff would kind of,
and taking that time before sex too to like connect and check in and like make eye contact and eye contact is huge. Yes. Yeah, and just be like, I feel like I have a need for this, or I want you to do this. And like as soon as I started asking for what I wanted, like it came to me, you know, and that's a huge thing during sex, because like you can't just expect the other person to know everything that you want, everything that you like, and then you might be disappointed that they don't meet your expectation when like they thought that they were doing everything fine, and it's not like they were doing anything wrong, you know. You just needed to like open up a little bit more. So there's so many variations of normal.
Yeah.
There's not one right thing for everybody, and every body is different.
Yeah, all of our anatomy, all of our vulvas, like
yeah,
the way that you said how our clitoris and our urethra and like even our inner labia and our outer labia and like all the variations of that are normal.
Well, like inside the vagina too, because like you've told me about like how the difficulties in like finding your cervix.
I have no idea.
But for me, my cervix is right there, and I can feel it, and it's probably because I've had so many pregnancies that my uterus sits a little like I had a slight uterine prolapse. Like that's pretty common after, you know, so many pregnancies and vaginal births. And so like even though that's been mostly healed, I'm sure my uterus is different than yours and sits inside, like the muscles are different, and so
the ligaments that hold it up.
And vulvas change, you know,
and they do.
So one of my favorite things is the vulva art gallery. I love the work that the vulva art gallery does. If you go on there, let me know if you can find my vulva, and I will. If you find my vulva, I will send you $10 for coffee. If you can tell me which one.
So are you gonna give me $10?
No, because you took the pictures.
Like so.
But all vulvas are beautiful, and just like if you have inner labia that hang out longer than your outer labia, like that's normal. That's beautiful. Like,
or if you have more like tissue or fat like on your pubic bone, like that's also normal. I know that I was very insecure about that for a long time, thinking that like my vagina's just fat and like I don't know why it's like that. And like I remember talking to my mom about it a lot, and she was probably like, girl, like we get it, okay? I remember this is like, you know, off topic, but she was like, maybe if you lose some weight,
lose weight in your mons pubis, you must.
Yeah, exactly. No.
What are the exercises for that?
Girl, I don't know. I wasn't lifting nothing with my pussy.
Bullshit.
Exactly. My mons pubis has always been like that. It will always be like that. And if yours is like that, it's normal.
I remember being like in like 5th grade and just like changing clothes in the bathroom at a sleepover, which, oh my God. Regardless, this interaction was not traumatic, but it was just a curiosity interaction, like comparing myself to my friend and being like, oh, my vulva looks a little bit different than yours, but there was no like judgment or criticism, or it wasn't weird or anything. And like looking back on it, it was actually like a really helpful experience for me to be exposed to like the variations of normal.
No, I had like traumatic locker room.
Oh, for sure. No.
Like we don't need to get into all that.
No, it's a bad time.
We also will normalize is queefing.
Oh yeah.
Queefing happens.
Absolutely, yeah.
There's air, and it's not gonna stay in there. If you're having sex, the air needs to come out. So if you're, you know, getting large pockets of air into your vagina at any given moment, it's not a balloon. It's not gonna try to keep it.
No, it has to come out. And
exactly.
It's most common when you're lifting your butt like into the air, and when you're doing like repeated motions, or if there's heavy, like if you're doing stuff from the back and there's like heavy penetration, I think queefing happens more. But it's like, I understand why it's an embarrassing experience for people, like especially if you're new to having sex, like that you would be like, oh, but the older you get, I think you
I just
come
giggle,
to embrace
like,
it, and
yeah.
you kind of love it. You're like, oh, this is like just my body.
Yeah.
You know what I'm having? Like, we're doing
and
it.
if somebody makes you feel gross because you queefed while they were having sex with you,
bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Out of there.
Fuck that. If anybody is making fun of you for anything or
for your hair, for
if they ask you to shave, if they make you feel weird about being on your period, and it's okay if somebody doesn't want to have period sex. Like, I will say, like, that,
yeah,
in my
because blood is
it can be triggering for a lot of people. In my 9-year relationship, like, it took a while for period sex to be something that both of us were comfortable with, because for me, I was like, this is a vulnerable place, like, to share. And I think for him, it was like, well, it was more of the mess, like, you know, getting messy in the situation. But now, I mean, we've been through too many things to care about that. Yeah, it's not important. But anybody that doesn't just relish in the sounds and the smells and the textures and the stretch marks and the sensations of your body and your pussy and
all the magic
magic that is there is not the person you should be sharing sex with.
Exactly. Sex is supposed to be,
they don't deserve you.
Yeah, a sacred, magical experience if that's what you want it to be. And
Yeah.
you deserve that if that's what you're looking for. Find partners that honor that and want the same experience that you do at any given stage of your life, because what you're wanting, somebody else out there is wanting, and like, find that match. And also, don't be afraid, to ask for what you want.
Closed mouth don't get fed.
Amen.
All right.
I am Alexis Ramirez.
I'm Savannah Taylor.
And until next time.